Round 11 of the EFL was absolutely huge, with some big results for those teams in the relegation places, as well as for some of those at the top of the division. Now, we predicted it a few days ago, and we're going to go through those predictions in just a moment. We're also going to take a look into round 12. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how this weekend's fixtures go, because some teams could really put themselves in a much better position, whereas others could properly fall away. Now, should we get into looking at the predictions? Now, if we look at round 11, obviously my predictions you will have seen in one of the previous videos. I actually got one correct score. Well, I got a couple of correct scores, but some of them were the wrong way round. Now, I got Derby versus Norwich correct with 1-0. Norwich, obviously, should have probably won the game. They should have been 3 or 4 up in the first half. In terms of Ipswich Charlton, I got the correct score, but the wrong way round. In terms of Coventry and Portsmouth, I predicted the correct result in terms of a Coventry win, but ultimately Coventry only won 2-1 instead of 3-1. I predicted the correct result in terms of Preston and Birmingham, but got it the wrong way round. That ended 1-0 Birmingham. I predicted 1-0 Preston. And in terms of Sheffield Wednesday and Borough, I predicted 4-0 Borough. So I got the correct in terms of result, in terms of win, but I got the wrong scoreline. All of the rest I got wrong. Shall we now take a look into round 12? There are some absolutely massive fixtures in round 12. Not more so for the likes of Coventry, Middlesbrough, and a team by the name of Derby County. It's going to be a huge weekend of fixtures, so shall we now predict round 12? The first game of the weekend comes at Preston North End as they take on Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United seems to have had a little bit of a turn in form with back-to-back wins, getting themselves out of the relegation zone. And I think that is going to continue. And Preston North End are going to fall to a 1-0 defeat. Now, Preston have also lost back-to-back games. So I sort of feel like it is a feeling of Chris Wilder getting things going at Sheffield United. I think it's Preston North End coming a little bit unstuck in recent weeks. And for me, I think Sheffield United take all 3 points. Now, on to probably the biggest game of the weekend, really. Can Coventry City get out of this weekend and into a week of no football with another win on the board? Now, they're 5 wins on the spin after their victory up against who did they play in midweek? Their victory up against Portsmouth. It was a 2-1 win. And I think they're going to come away with another victory. I genuinely do. Watford, they did win their last game up against West Brom. They won 2-0 at home. But I think on the road, up against Coventry City, who have only conceded 8 goals this season, I just can't see Watford getting the better of them. For me, it's Coventry 2, Watford 0 coming out of that one. You then head to Ipswich, who got absolutely battered in midweek against Charlton Athletic, and they face up against West Brom, another team who in midweek fell to defeat. They obviously lost 2-1 to Watford. Ipswich lost to Charlton, and this game I can see there being goals, but I can't see there being a winner. For me, it's going to be 2-2. Ipswich 2, West Bromwich Albion 2. I just can't see either of those two sides coming out in a positive light, if I am completely honest with you. Now, Pompey, they go home and they face up against Stoke City in what is going to be an absolutely massive game for me. Now, Pompey find themselves in 17th place with 13 points after defeat to Coventry City, and they're facing up against Stoke City, who find themselves in 6th. After a 2-0 defeat to Millwall in midweek, though, are they going to be able to bounce back? In my opinion, the answer to that question is no. I think Pompey are going to come away as 2-1 victors. I've just got a feeling about Pompey. They're a team who I think, when they've got a fit squad, I think they're very, very good. Do I think they're going to be pushing anywhere in terms of playoffs or anything like that this season? Not quite. But I do think Pompey are going to be 2-1 victors this season. We then head on to Blackburn versus Southampton. Now, for me, Southampton have been very, very poor to start off this season. And another loss in midweek against Bristol City continues to show that. Blackburn also, they have been poor. 4 defeats out of their last 5 with a 3-1 defeat to Sheffield United. I think this one is going to be an absolutely boring game. I think it's going to be a huge slog for the fans of both sides, and I think it's going to end as a 0-0 draw. We then head on to Bristol City, who currently find themselves 4th in the division after back-to-back wins against Southampton and against Norwich City. And they face up against Birmingham, who picked up their first win in their last 5 against Preston North End in midweek. But can I see them picking up another one? I don't think I can. I think Bristol City are going to come out of this one as 2-1 winners. And I just think that Birmingham, they're a little bit big for their boots. You probably saw my video the other day in regards to Birmingham City. If you didn't, make sure you go ahead and check that out. I just think that they think they're a lot better than what they are, and I don't necessarily appreciate it. For me, I think Bristol City are going to get the better of them, and they're going to start applying pressure on the likes of Middlesbrough and Coventry at the top end of the table. Next up, we head to my home team. It's Derby County, and they face up against QPR, and it's a huge game for Derby. Obviously, in midweek, they won 1-0 up against Norwich, and it's a game where I feel like Derby County could have quite easily lost that game 3 or 4-0. And QPR come out of midweek also with a 1-0 win, and that is a win on the road for QPR, and they head on the road again as they travel down to Pride Park Stadium. But I've just got a feeling that John Eustace has sussed it out, and I think that Derby County are going to win this game 2-0. Obviously, there is a big miss in Ebo Adams in the middle of the park. Obviously, Lewis Travis and Liam Thompson out injured as well. Who is going to fill in that slot? It's either going to be an academy product or it's going to be one of the likes of Bobby Clark or something along those lines. Now, you can let me know your predictions on all these games down in the comments as well. But both teams come away from midweek with a 1-0 win. And I think Derby County are going to come out of this one on top. We head now to Hull City as they host Charlton. Charlton, who had an unbelievable performance in midweek, winning 3-0 up against former Premier League team Ipswich Town. And I think they're going to score 3 again. I think they're winning this game 3-2 against Hull City. Don't get me wrong. Both teams have started the season all right. Both teams sitting on 18 points. Hull have won the last 3 in a row. 2-1 against Leicester, 3-2 against Birmingham City, 1-0 against Sheffield United. Charlton have won the last 2, 2-1 against Sheffield and 3-0 against Ipswich Town. And for this one, I just do think that Charlton are going to come out on top. Obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. Middlesbrough currently sit second. They're 1 point behind Coventry and 4 points ahead of Millwall, and they face up against Wrexham, who are currently sitting in 15th in the division. I think Borough are going to come out on top of this one. I think Wrexham, they've spent a lot of money, they've got some really good players, and despite putting in some fairly decent performances, I don't quite think they have the right amount of points on the board. They obviously picked up a 1-0 win in midweek, which seems to be a common scoreline from midweek, but I think they're going to lose 2-1 to Middlesbrough, and I think Middlesbrough are going to continue to keep piling on that pressure against Coventry City. Next up, we head down to London as we face Millwall versus Leicester City. That is going to be a huge game for me. Leicester finally sort of, I say they're getting into a groove. They're not particularly getting into a groove, are they? They were 4 unbeaten before midweek, before losing to Hull City, and ultimately they could find themselves in the playoffs with a victory. And I do think that they're going to get a victory this time, despite the fact that Millwall are 3 wins on the spin. I think Leicester are going to win this one 3-1. We then head to Sheffield as Sheffield Wednesday host Oxford. And I think Oxford are going to come out on top of this one. As much as I would like to see Sheffield Wednesday sort of climb out of the relegation zone and really start to put a feeler on the division, despite the fact of their position, I just don't think it's going to happen. And for me, I think Oxford come out of this game with a 1-0 win and get themselves a little bit more rejuvenated. Obviously beat Derby at the weekend. Failed to win in midweek. They lost 1-0 to Wrexham. But I just think Oxford are just going to have a bit more than Sheffield Wednesday, especially when it comes to players off the bench, fitness levels, and all things like that. We then have a big game between Swansea City and Norwich City. Norwich City currently sat in the relegation zone with 4 back-to-back defeats. Swansea City sat in 16th place with no win in 3 after defeat to QPR in midweek. But I do think Swansea are going to turn that around in this game. And I think Swansea City are going to win 2-0 against Norwich City. Now, you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. But they are my predictions for the games this week. Obviously, it is round 12. I think we've got a week off next week in terms of midweek games, but you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.